Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain.
All right.
I can't believe the number of different things in our life that lead us to frequently saying the same crap, which is just like, are you ready? That's like, It's like every single time we ask, are you ready? It's like, I feel like my mind goes in the SpongeBob theme.
Right.
And then like, even like when we press like all the buttons on the cameras to like get rolling, it's like, all right, and we're rolling. And Roland always reminds me of the character of Roland from Schitt's Creek, where Eugene Levy would always be like, Roland.
Yeah, I know.
Like he would always say it like this, like very like, why are you doing something that I don't expect you to do? Roland.
It always makes me, the word Roland always makes me, well, I always want to have like a thing to go with it, and I try and think of something to rhyme with Roland, and the thing I always rhyme it with is Danger Dolan, which is just this like, I don't even know if it's like an old YouTuber, I don't even know if he still makes stuff, but he used to do like top 10 lists of like random things.
Okay.
So it would be like top 10 biggest holes on Earth or something.
Oh, amazing.
Like his kind of video was like that, but it was just like narrating over this sort of thing. And it was Danger Dolan. And so every time we say Roland, I like Roland, Danger Dolan. I'm like, that's so random. No one even knows who Danger Dolan is.
No one even knows.
Or maybe they do, and I just haven't kept up with it because I haven't watched one of his videos in 10 years.
Well, maybe you should.
Maybe I should. Maybe I should check out how Danger Dolan's doing.
Yeah, see what the latest is.
Yeah, what are the new biggest holes on Earth?
I know, yeah. It's like surely some other ones have been dug since then.
Yeah, right?
The other one we always do with Roland is Chameleonaires. Like, they see me rolling, they hate him, patrolling, they're trying. Yeah, right, Proud and Dirty. Is that the name of that song?
White and Nerdy.
White and Nerdy. That's the
Weird Al version. The superior version.
Yeah. Good times.
As usual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
All right, so we're 3 minutes in, so keep that in mind as
Yeah.
we.
All right. Cool. All right. Top of the morning, everybody, and welcome to Popcorn Culture. As always, I'm your one true host, Jazzy J, joined as usual by my brother, the one true co-host, Buzzy Benjamin B. How you doing, Ben?
It is great to be here this morning.
Yeah.
Great to be here. I really appreciated your weather report just a few minutes ago, and the traffic on I-81 out there backed up 13 miles as per always.
Ben, I'm not even sure I-81 is 13 miles long. Well, 581.
581. Yeah, there we go.
581.
Yeah, you just got such that radio voice. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, clearly, like what we're doing is like, you know, it's 6A. Like you're talking.
Yeah,
all
welcome
those,
to the
like,
morning drive time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's definitely like the essence that I feel like you're hitting right square on the head there.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, this is what I'm going for sure.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
with my little intro voice.
Well
there.
executed,
Yeah,
indeed.
embodying the true Jazzy J from the one short story I had to write in college about Carl, who unfortunately for him was the luckiest man alive.
Ah, such a good short story.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know, I believe that we've told it once before.
I think we have.
We have to link to it somewhere. But what's the brief?
The brief is that there's basically the opening sentence. That was like it was like, unfortunately for him, Carl was the luckiest man alive, and his whole thing is that like as he goes through life, like everything just goes his way nonstop. But in a weird way, this like also affects him in this like adverse way in that he never has a sense of fulfillment because he never has to try for anything. But at the same time, his good fortune often comes at the misfortune of others. So like, let's say he's like walking down the street or something and like, with like his best friend and like a bucket falls off the construction site. Like it might strike his friend, thus leaving him unharmed, but it's because he was lucky enough not to be hit.
Yeah.
But like, unlucky in the fact that his friend was hit.
So like,
you know?
things keep happening that are not good. So my suspicion is that when you originally scribed this story, it was not intended to have like a very like privileged undertone. However,
no, it was not.
The way that you just described it, it was kind of like, huh.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I realized what I just thought. I was like, this is a fun gimmick. Like what a topsy-turvy idea. But so one of my examples, as I'm establishing the character in my very limited story here, was an example of the ways in which he was lucky was that he, when he drives to work every morning, he has to like think for a minute about what radio station he's gonna turn into for the drive, and he lands on one for the day. He changes radio stations every single day because every single day he calls in to win whatever show it is.
Okay.
But you can only win once a month. is like always the stipulation.
Okay.
So he has to change radio stations every day of the month until he's reset and is allowed to win again.
Okay.
But he knows he will win, because no matter what, when he calls in, he will be the caller they pick based on his own luck.
Interesting.
And he will win because whatever the game is, he will guess correctly no matter what.
Because he's lucky.
Right. So the radio station he happens to tune into happens to be hosted by Jazzy J, and the game they're playing that day is to like guess the like Jazzy J has a random word from the dictionary, that like an SAT word, and he'll just give you two possible definitions of the word, and you have to guess which one is correct. And so Carl is sitting there pondering whether or not he is incapable of guessing the wrong answer, or whether he is in the moment capable of choosing the meaning of the word.
Oh yeah, that's very interesting.
Right.
Because it's like no matter what,
he will be declared correct.
He will be declared correct.
Right.
Right. Yeah, which means that like, but this almost suggests that regardless of what he did, and this is almost like a chicken and the egg type of thing. It's like what came first, his response or the true meaning?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't know the meaning of the word, and he has a 50-50 shot. So he can choose whichever one he chooses will be the correct one. So is he? Yeah, it's just such a weird conundrum. Like, is he choosing the meaning of the word, or incapable of choosing the wrong one?
Ugh.
And yeah, so that was some of like the early things. So it wasn't a very developed story, because I only had to have like the first few pages done for the class, and then it was mostly an exercise in peer review more than short story writing. So
Okay.
So then you had to break into small groups and read everyone's stories and critique them and stuff like that, which is a horrifying experience when other people read your stuff and you're like, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. You guys are better writers than me. So,
Jay, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like you are well on your way towards just adding another film to the repertoire from the up and coming studio house titled 27 Butts.
Yeah, 27 Butts Productions.
27 Butts Productions, which at this point in time, I am like so fully committed to the bit that if we ever reach the stage in our life, which we're not even close to for clarity, of producing films, I feel like we have to call it 27 Butts.
27 Butts.
This is like because, and I think about this every single time like a movie or TV show starts up and there's like the bad robot, or like that's some bad hat, Harry, or like there's like all like
that
the little
production studio thing at the end.
Yes, exactly.
From Mulan.
That's Nick Offerman.
That's Nick Offerman doing the voice.
From Mulan.
Yeah.
But I'm always like, they come up with this name because of some stupid, silly inside joke somewhere.
Yeah, they didn't market research like bad robot is going to be one that sticks with people. It's like, it was a stupid inside joke somewhere, and now it's the name of their production company.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you know like the term like Blue Harvest. I think that was like the code name for Return of the Jedi, maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And but like now it's like, now Blue Harvest, which was originally like what you would put on the front of the script pages for the cast, so that like nobody knows what you're actually filming, and that you can't go and like get spoilers from like spying on set. It's like now Blue Harvest is just also associated with Star Wars, like, as like the fake name.
Yeah.
So anyway, I feel like we can definitely have. I always imagine the story being very similar to Stranger Than Fiction, the one that you've written here.
Oh yeah, and there's no doubt that was absolutely a part of it, because that was when I was I had first discovered the movie Stranger Than Fiction.
Okay.
And so it was fresh on my mind.
Okay. Yeah.
So Carl is a very Harold Crick type.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Then the other thing I was thinking about was with your SAT words were you at all inspired by the SAT word shower curtain that we had growing up? So mom bought us for our bathroom that we all shared, the three brothers, had a big shower curtain that just had like 100 of the hardest SAT words written on it, which you would think would be a super helpful tool, and that like I would have like expanded my vocabulary a lot from it. And I feel like I stared at the words a lot, but I can't think of a single word that I even remember from the shower curtain.
Can't remember it either. And I think largely that for me is because when you're in the bathroom, the shower curtain was either like open and unreadable, or even if it's fully open, it's still got that like wavy feel to it.
True.
It's like you sort of have to try to read the words.
Yeah.
And because they're big, it's like, I don't even know if I want to put the effort into trying to figure out what this word means. I mean, whatever.
Right.
So
yes.
It's a fun idea, but I don't think I learned a single word from the SAT word shower curtain.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Is that like proximity to something. So we talked once upon a time, I think yours says you can do hard things.
Yeah.
Which is like your like encouragement that you have like mounted on your wall in your house in front of your Peloton.
Yeah.
And I have the one that the phrase is, you'll think of something.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been times like where I've like looked to it and like felt like some like sense of like reassurance. Like if I'm having like a very like anxiety filled day, I'm like looking at that sentiment and I'm like, you'll think of something. And it's like you don't know the answer right now, but don't be impatient because you don't know the answer to this life problem that you're facing, you'll get there.
Right.
You'll think of something.
Think of something.
But that being said, I've always sort of had like a very like unsure relationship with these types of like wall hangings and stuff.
Yeah.
Because at some point in time they do just start like become like wallpaper, you know, like you like look through them, you like don't even like really like see them anymore, and it's like a good mantra, it's right there, it's important to have, it's like something like a good fresh reminder. Similarly, like we have like a Ted Lasso Believe poster, like when you're walking out of our office.
Yes, we do,
which we do tap every single time we walk past it.
We got to
got to, which I think maybe that helps, having like the Believe poster, because there's like a gesture that you do with it, and it's sort of like
Boom.
okay, believe. Although believe in what is the goal?
Yourself, man. You just gotta believe.
You just gotta believe.
Gotta believe.
Yeah, it's vague, but also applicable in that way.
Man, look, it was good. Ted didn't explain it. He just put it up there.
That's true.
And look at the effect it had.
A huge
It
effect.
was massive, dude.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso, speaking of which, finale just dropped last week.
No spoilers in case
No
anybody
spoilers.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about Ted? How I know you like really connect with the character Ted and just like love the show in general, as do I. But like, how were you feeling now that the show is concluded?
Oh man, I genuinely like a whole myriad of emotions. There's no doubt about it. Like one of them that we've talked a lot about here in office is like back, and I didn't realize this like when we were kids, because it just never really occurred to me. Like, you know, as a youngin, it just would have always been the case that like, yes, of course I want this TV show that I watch on primetime TV every single night to just be renewed forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And I don't care if they just keep having to like create new drama every season so that I can continue to have more time with my characters. Like it's like the same relationship you might have like with candy. It's like more is always better, hard stop, and you can't prove me wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Like and it's like there won't be the situation where you'll have given me enough candy to the point where like I'm like, okay, I've had enough candy.
Yeah.
I'll pass on the next piece. You know, it's like,
yeah.
And as a kid, that was just largely true. Like, when would you ever have that much candy? And so as I've gotten older, I remember like hearing like the sentiment, the mantra, like, you know, like sort of speaking about like popular television shows and sort of like ending them when they're supposed to end. The Good Place, I think, was the first TV show I ever heard of where it was like, it's not that it didn't have sufficient ratings to be approved for an additional season. The story was just over.
Right.
And this is like contrary to like one of my favorite TV shows growing up, Scrubs, where like I feel like they got to like an ending, and then I'm pretty sure like NBC sold it to ABC.
Yep.
I think that was the direction it went.
Yeah, I don't remember the details, but I know that the show was moving from NBC to ABC for some reason or another.
Yes. And what you ended up with was basically like more of your characters, which was like, hey, there they are. But then it was also like, but like we really lost the plot at this point in time. Like we're not the original hospital. We don't have like all of like the returning cast. Like not everybody came back for it, you know, and like, it's kind of like, it's almost more of like a spin-off that you kind of like tacked on to the end of a season, but it's like, well, you know, it had enough popularity to like get renewed a couple more times.
Yeah. There was definitely the ending of Scrubs is wild, because certainly like, and whatever transaction happened where it was moving from NBC to ABC, NBC, as far as they were concerned, when the show left their network, that was the true end of the show.
Yes.
Like if you just watch it, like it is like if you watch the last episode that ever aired on NBC, it is a series finale episode.
Right.
And it's like, it is epic. JD is walking down the halls of the hospital. Like everyone is like lined up. There's like epic music, and it feels like a really good ending. And then you're right. Like ABC boots it up the next season. It's like, yeah, everything's still happening. Forget that random thing. And then you're right. It did feel like a spin-off. And what made it worse was then they actually made another spin-off.
Yeah.
Right. Which was just like Scrubs again, but it wasn't like a reboot of Scrubs. It was like, no, John Dorian is just now an older doctor who sometimes appears so that we can market the show, but isn't really a main character. So, you know.
Right. Yeah. So, but I mean, the point is that like, at the time, and this was probably even like a very similar relationship that I had like with the Star Wars like prequels as they were coming out, like where when they arrived, like obviously the reaction to them, like it's aged well. Like it seems like people look back on the prequels now like with a lot more fondness than they did for like the first 15 years of their existence.
Yeah.
But like as a kid myself, because I was probably like 11, 12 years old when Phantom Menace came out, and it didn't even occur to me that there was such a thing as like Star Wars content that like wasn't good.
All Star Wars is good.
All Star Wars is good. So it's like, you know, like I'm just like not even like it can't even occur to me to critique it because I just exclusively love it.
Yeah.
And so all of that being said, to like kind of like wrap it up, it's sort of like if I were to go to that was a noise. Something's happening
what
outside.
that is.
Yeah. There was actually one day hilariously. Well,
It's still going.
it sounds like somebody's dragging like a manhole cover down the street.
It sounds like that.
The manhole murderer.
I hope not. What is that? It's definitely something very heavy being dragged on the asphalt.
The manhole.
Yeah. Y'all can for sure hear that. This is going to be like on a serial podcast. And they're going to be like, now, it just so happens that the podcast Popcorn Culture was recording on the street, and you can hear it happening caught on their microphone.
Right. I
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're exactly right. It's like, oh, okay. Now this is like part of, we've added to something. True crime.
Yeah.
This is how the pot becomes a
Yeah.
true crime podcast.
The city of downtown Roanoke was struck by an unusual sound on the morning of June 5th.
Yeah, right. 2023. Okay, so I lost my entire train of thought though. Okay, so to wrap everything up though, I think like to sort of go back to like Ted Lasso, I think, you know, 3 seasons, and it seems to me, like my interpretation of it is that they basically had like an entire story that they wanted to tell, you know, from start to finish. And like I think it's actually like very expertly done, because the 3-season arc has like its own natural trajectory, but then inside of each season they gave them each of their own respective small trajectories, so like where each season has like its own like start to finish arcs. But like when you look at like season 2, it's kind of like the, like you can tell it's sort of like the down like season, like
right.
like where Ted is like, you know, maybe struggling the most.
The
and
most.
Like, yeah, and like there's like the most going on and everything. So it's like you sort of get to like, I think it's very well built from a narrative standpoint, and I really do appreciate this idea of almost like taking the characters, and I would even say, like, without giving any spoilers or anything, like they leave the characters just in a place where you can sort of like imagine them being able to like go and continue their life from there. And I think it's interesting. I think it was maybe me, you, and Ethan, the editor, who were talking about this exact thing. But like in the book, The Fault in Our Stars, which is written by John Green, a lot of the like themes of the story and like what John Green was doing like as an author, like was sort of speaking to this idea of like, you know, when the last page is turned, like the author is turning the character over to you, the reader, to sort of like let the characters go where in your mind they might go. Like like the idea of like happily ever after, I think is like the exact sentiment that like maybe John Green was like going for in a way, even if it's not like quite as whimsical as that. But I feel like that sort of ending is like, okay, we've taken the characters, we've put them through trials and tribulations, they've been able to like rise to the occasion to achieve a place in life where you wanted them to end up, and from there they live. But like nobody is so naive to think that like just because they won the battle and defeated the monster and now they're the king and queen of the kingdom and they're beloved by their citizens or whatever. It's like if you've ever seen Game of Thrones, you also know that that throne is definitely going to be challenged.
Oh my
at some
god! I
point
was
in
just
time.
gonna bring up Game of Thrones because it feels like Game of Thrones. Now that you phrase it like that, it feels like Game of Thrones is framed as like a happily never after show.
Oh, good.
You know?
Well said.
Right? Like,
man, that's brilliant.
You could have watched the story of Robert's rebellion and how the Targaryens were this terrible, empire and they rose to the occasion and Rhaegar, killed Ned's wife and everyone, they won the day. The Baratheons win. Robert's king. Hurrah. End of show.
Right.
But it's like, actually, all of that did happen. And now what happens? You're actually starting right at the end of the happily ever after. What does Robert have to deal with in the aftermath of the war?
Exactly.
And it's like, that's what Game of Thrones is like immediately picking up after the end of the happily ever after you never got to read.
Exactly. And from there, it's just like pure chaos.
It is pure nonsense and horror. Yeah.
Exactly. For the rest of it. But no, I mean, I even think, so I just rounded off Hunger Games we've talked about a few times, but Plutarch Heavensbee, I think, has a little sentiment very similar towards the end of the series, which is kind of like, we're in peacetime now. The revolution is over. Now we all just sort of like try to put it behind us for a little while. And everybody's just happy that that we did it. And like we have this new existence and we'll wait 20 years before we start battling each other again. And it's almost like the awareness that it's like, oh no, it's coming. It's like that's the thing about the happily ever after is that it assumes zero other conflict ever happens for the character.
Right.
But I think that's sort of like what I think, again, to go back to Ted Lasso, is that like, I think that they did a nice job of like sort of presenting you with like scenarios where it's like when you see these characters, kind of close out their stories. And again, without like going into any spoilers or anything, it's sort of like, you're just like you don't even expect that for them necessarily. Like it's like, it's not like a happily ever after. It's not a happily ever after. It's sort of just like you can just imagine that these characters now have a life going forward and you can sort of like be like, okay.
Right. It's just like they're all feel like they are better people than before the show started or better versions of themselves. And like they are all better for having known each other.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're all happier for having known each other. Maybe that's a better way to say it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they've like left a positive. I think one of the things that you pointed out to me very early on is that like the show opener, if you've ever seen Ted, then it's like you're like Ted's walking through the stadium and like all the seats are like graffitiized and stuff like that.
Yeah,
there's, like,
they're all
scratches.
been like vandalized and people have written on them with Sharpie and stuff.
And like every like seat that he touches like turns like clean and new and like fresh and like
and
better.
it's like spelling out his name across
Right.
the stadium. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So it's like I think that's sort of like the overall like impact of the show is just sort of like if like this one person can genuinely go in and just like through like positive attitude and support and love and all these things can just like literally make everybody around them better, and that is then contagious, and all of those people then become like pay it forward proxies of Ted's positivity.
Yeah.
And I think that like in large part, like if you listen to The Pop or watch Super Carlin Brothers or do anything to do with like like our shows online, like to me, I feel like that at its core is like the objective. It's like it's just to try to like send these like little sparks of positivity out there, and it's kind of like hoping that they will land somewhere and be able to provide good outwardly.
Yeah, hopefully.
hopefully. Which, by the way, I feel like is a great transition into the Miles Managed. Yeah, step competition we've got going on. This has been really, really, really cool.
It has been super fun.
In case you're unaware, we created a digital journey across the United Kingdom that starts, at King's Cross Station and travels all the way up to Scotland. And along the way, we've got like all these like little pit stops and everything. But like beyond that, I feel like it's really cool because like the app that we're using and the company that we're partnered with is called Pacer. And for full disclosure, like they were able to like work with us to like help make this competition a reality. So huge shout out to them because they've been awesome to work with and great partners. But the platform itself, like I was telling you just before we hopped on the call, but like I got my screen time report on Sunday morning, and Pacer was my #1 most used app over the past week. And I was like, man, that is so funny because I am not on social media anywhere.
Right.
And
although Pacer is arguably like a light social media app.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. But
Yeah.
it's social media in a way that I think is really neat, because it's like everybody is there for the same reason.
Goal,
Like
yeah.
Like we're all sort of in it together. Like everybody's been so encouraging and positive and happy. And
yeah, it's certainly like a step tracker first, but then like because we're all in a group and everyone has like a common goal, everyone can like post their progress and pictures and words of encouragement each day to everyone else in the group.
Yes.
And yeah, that's been very fun seeing everyone's like updates every day and like seeing how people have been like motivated to go and, you know, like, oh, I was at 5.5 miles and I was about to go to bed and I was like, no, that seems like such a waste. I have to go walk around my house for half a mile or something.
I know, yeah, like do it, go for it, like get that little extra bit in. I know, yeah, no, it's I've seen like a lot of the same posts, and it really, I mean, it is so heartwarming. Or like the number of people that are like going out and like doing it, like, you know, with their dogs or with their kids, or, you know, like, oh, you know, I talked to my friend or a family member or like a spouse, you know, into going out and like, you know, getting an early morning walk in and stuff like that. So it's been really, really cool to like watch it unfold. So anyway, if you're at all interested, there's more than enough time to still join. You can still complete the journey as long as you sign up. I think the absolute latest that you could do it and still complete it would be July 11th, so of 2023.
Yeah,
depending on when you're listening to this. But yeah, it's been really cool so far. Has it been like impacting any of your like? I know like the last step competition you got into, like,
I was starting to hit like 30,000 steps a day there. That was so this one's a little bit different because it's a distance limit rather than a step limit.
Yes.
So it's you can max out at 6 miles a day, whereas our other step competitions have been 30,000 steps per day. So it's significantly lower. I would say about maybe half or less than half, even depending on how your tracking is going or whatever. I have had a few days where it's been like, I'm like right at that like 5.5, like 5.7. I need to let me walk around, get a few more steps before I go to bed or something, or you know, go for a walk outside or something to just kind of close out the day. So it has definitely encouraged me a little bit. Yesterday is the first day I didn't get the full 6 miles done, so now I'm 3 miles behind the leader pack, I suppose.
The leader pack,
as it were.
Yeah.
But also, it never feels like I'm quite in the leader pack because there's enough people internationally whose day starts like 12 hours before ours, where like even before I go to bed, some people have completed tomorrow's 6 miles.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, that's crazy. I mean, it's so cool that it's just like it's such a worldwide thing that people are participating in. So now I guess I'm 3 miles back. But yesterday I spent a good portion of my morning. Our trainer Gabriel, I guess, bought a new set of dumbbells for the gym.
Yeah,
and so I think we had for some reason supplied the old set of dumbbells.
Yeah, I think that there was a period of time. This is pretty classic, like what it's like to do business with Ben, I feel like. But I think at some point in time we were getting ready to move offices, and like one of these like online weightlifting equipment retailers was running like a crazy Black Friday special, and I was like, maybe we'll put a gym in the new office, which never ended up happening.
Right.
But we ended up buying like a decent little like chunk of equipment in the name of like potentially having that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it was kind of like, well, we've got all these dumbbells and he doesn't have a set, so maybe we'll just bring them down there. And so like, yeah, for the past several years, like in the gym that we go to, we were literally using like our own dumbbells.
Yeah.
So anyway, he recently like upgraded gyms and is like brand new location and has got like, you know, some cool new equipment and everything. So I didn't need the ones that we had anymore. So you brought them home.
Yeah. So I brought them home. They'd been sitting in the back of my car for like 4 days, just dragging down my gas mileage, which is like something you don't consider. I was like, oh yeah, I'll just throw this in the back of my car. It's like, yeah, that's like several 100 pounds of weight you're now lugging around.
Yep, absolutely.
But so yeah, I was like, I got to get these out of here. It took me, there was dumbbells in increments of 5 pounds from 5 all the way up to 50 sitting in there. So I needed to get all of those into the house, and the spot was in my basement. So it took me, I think, 11 trips to bring every set from the car down to the basement. And it was like, it was such an effort carrying them all the way down, running up and down the stairs and getting the rack down there. And then I like had to clean everything because it had just gotten very dusty, which the kids helped me with, sort of. But they were very excited to be helping me wipe all the weights down and stuff. And they were like, "This is just so dirty, Daddy. These weights dirty."
That's hilarious. Yeah, that was so funny.
They were having a blast with it. Got them all in though. But that definitely was my workout for yesterday. Was running the weights up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
So
that does feel like those steps should count maybe double.
I know, right? That's what I'm saying.
Because at some point in time you were carrying 50-pound dumbbells.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, that was my workout for the day. So I didn't quite get the extra 3 miles on there, but I do have a set of dumbbells in my basement now, so I'm pretty happy about that.
There we go.
You know, working on my own home gym. I've got the bike and the treadmill and the weights now, and I just need if I can clean out my storage room, I can start turning that into my little home gym. It's going to be great.
That's amazing.
Someday. We're working towards several little home projects at the same point. The other thing I was a lot of just moving heavy stuff this weekend. I inherited a bunch of new furniture from Beth's grandmother's house, which is I guess up for sale.
Okay.
Now the house is empty, and so they're trying to figure out what to do with it. So they're divvying up things to whoever wants it and stuff. And Beth wanted a few pieces of her grandmother's old furniture, which is totally cool. So had to go help move all that stuff out and get it to the new recipients and stuff this past weekend. But so one of the things we got. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a little like stationary like desk / cabinet / chest of drawers. It's like 4 drawers at the bottom, and then it has a little panel you can open up. And when you open it up, it creates like a surface to write on and reveals like a little section of shelves and like drawers that you might like put envelopes in. And then above it is like a glass cabinet that has shelves in it.
Ooh.
So it's a pretty unique looking piece of furniture. I'm not even sure what to call it.
Are you gonna start letter writing?
Oh, probably not.
Yeah, get you some like wax seals.
Yeah,
and,
right.
Like a little candle. And
it does feel like it would be a great place to for a laptop to just like live.
A laptop. Do you think the original builder was like a good laptop station?
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, I don't think they could have conceived of it. And I say laptop because there's no way you could fit a desktop in there.
Okay, got it.
You would need like almost like a small screen that would fit after it had been folded closed.
Okay.
So otherwise, maybe it's just a good place to put like mail. So that you can like put it away and it looks nice. Or also, I feel like the glass cabinet on top feels like looks like a liquor cabinet kind of. It has a locking mechanism which makes it feel even more like a liquor cabinet, except that even though we have the key and it does work, the latch does not hold. Like you can like turn it and you can even see it move, but then if you pull on the door, it just immediately comes open. It's like, well, that's a bummer.
That is a bummer.
Yeah, man. I was like, so either I might use it for that anyway, but
Nothing
as
like
it is a very
key to an old cabinet.
It looks exactly like you want it to. It's like way bigger than it needs to be, and it's like, yeah, this is like a fancy key. This probably opens a treasure chest or something.
It has to. I mean, all keys that were made that look like that must open. They must be twofold.
Yeah,
it can open like your standard writing desk, and also a treasure chest deep at the bottom of the sea.
Yeah.
So it was a real challenge for carpenters during this particular period of time, because not only did you have to know how to build exquisite furniture, but you also had to have a boat and piles of treasure that you could then drive out to the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
And leave.
Exactly.
So that someday someone like you could inherit it and then go on a treasure hunt. Go and collect your treasure.
Exactly.
So
it's nothing better than a good treasure hunt.
You should also like touch around for like hidden panels, like were you like pressure sensitive?
Well, it's so funny you should say that.
Oh my gosh! Don't tell me.
No, there wasn't any kind of like treasure, but like I think as the rest of as the house has been getting cleared out, like there's nothing anyone knew was left in the like drawers or anything.
Okay.
But as I'm like going through and feeling it, there's like, it turns out that after you open the little door to reveal like the tiny shelves on the inside, there were 2 little tiny like slide out the compartments that you could put stuff in. And so I pulled one side out. And there was like an unused, coupon for Lowe's or something. So that wasn't very exciting. But then we pulled open the other one, and there was like, it was like her grandfather's like old like postal employee like identification card or something. Whoa! And that one was really cool. It was like, whoa, no way. That's like this has been in here for like 20 years or something.
That's pretty wild.
So that was a kind of a cool one. Beth was happy to find that one.
Hidden treasure.
I know. Yeah. So it was a little bit of a hidden treasure, but nonetheless, the experience of getting all this old furniture, which is like clearly like nice, but it's a little bit like scuffed up here and there, and definitely just like looks older, not like it necessarily fits in our, modern day home.
Sure.
So it sent me down like furniture restoration TikTok.
Oh boy.
Oh man. I was just
boy.
like, and it's like, I'm just watching the videos and it's like the people in the videos are so good at it.
Oh,
but it
yeah,
makes it
yeah.
feels like too possible. And I'm like, I can do this. I am like, of course I can. How hard, I just got to get a sander, just sand it down. And then you just paint over it, change the hardware out, boom, bam. Modern piece of furniture.
Honestly, I think that they're sending you the correct messaging and that it is as easy as you think, and you should do it.
I totally plan on doing it, and it feels like a great excuse to just go get some like new tools, which is always fun.
Always fun. New
it's
tool
like,
day.
Exactly. It's like it's one of those things when you're at the hardware store. Sometimes you're like, I don't own. It's like there's sometimes I'll look at stuff and I feel like I should own this, but at the same time I'm like, but I've made it to this point in life and never needed this object once. So I probably don't need it. But there's like, now you're reaching stages of your life where it's like, I finally have the reason for that.
Right.
And so now I finally have a reason to go buy this thing. And hopefully once you have it, I feel this is the thing. Like maybe now that I need it, like more doors are open where maybe there's been things I've wanted to do in the past, but like because I didn't have the tool, I was like, I just won't get it done because I don't really need to do that.
Right.
And doing it would involve going to buy this expensive tool that will help me accomplish this minor thing that is otherwise not really that big a deal. Mm-hmm. But now that you've got it, now that like opens those doors ahead of time.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think back in like my early aquarium days, I feel like I like all the jobs that I was going out on, like we would like one of them that I think that was particularly impactful on me, and I've talked about it before, but I was going to Lexington, Kentucky. There was a restaurant at the time, which has since closed, called Coba Casina, and we were installing like the world's largest private jellyfish aquarium. So if you're in Lexington, Kentucky, you remember the huge jellyfish aquarium, I helped install it.
Kabam.
Kabam. But while we were there, so like the crew I was with, I've talked about them before, but they were all Florida based. And so like what they had discovered was that it was less expensive once they got on site to go to Lowe's and buy all the tools that they were going to need than to like try to haul them all up there.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And so like, we got there and like day one of the project was literally just like going to the hardware store with like this massive list and just getting like one of everything. And I remember just being like, this is wild. And, like there was like a million different ways, like everything. I mean, like they, at the end of the day, like they had like so much thoughtful use. And then the other thing is that we knew that since I was going to be there and that the Center in the Square project here in Roanoke was coming, we were going to be able to take all those tools from Lexington and I was going to be able to drive them to Roanoke where they could then sit until they could be used for the Roanoke project.
Nice.
I know. So it was like, it all worked out in the end. They got like a lot of mileage out of these things. But I do think that like 2012, 2013, like while I was doing this stuff, it was just sort of like I got home and I was like, well, now I want tools so I can do everything. And I remember, I was going through and like pulling out like all the scrap wood that we were using for like all the projects and like being like, hey, we can make cornhole boards out of these. So like our set of like cornhole boards are literally made from what was previously plywood that we put over top of the aquarium while it was still empty so that like no construction materials would fall in while the rest of the building was being renovated.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, if you like look on the back of it, I think it says like Center in the Square roof lid or something like that. Like it's like literally like written like in Sharpie from where we originally did that. Yeah,
that's so fun.
I don't know where I was going with this other than the fact that like so I feel like there was so much for me where it was like there was like a single project, like a recreational project where it was like I really 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 want like this tool so I could do this one thing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like I would like get that one thing done. It was like, oh man, okay, well now I have the tool in case we ever need it in the future.
Right.
But so
now I have to store the tool.
now I have to store the tool. So I end up having like a pretty decent collection of tools. And whenever the opportunity arises to actually like put everything to use, I'm like, yes, this is so much fun. But it's also been very exciting. I feel like you definitely seem to have like caught the home project bug.
A little bit. It's been fun working on stuff on the weekends, and I feel like I've got like a list of different projects I want to do. I feel like fixing up the old furniture is like a fun one. It feels very approachable because for the most part it feels like just like sanding and paint and changing the hardware, which like for the most part, I feel very capable of doing as long as I have the tools.
Right.
So I think, I can go get like a fun sander, and then I can get like one of the spray paint gun things.
Nice.
So you can just do it like nice and even. And I'm like convinced that it's like I in my brain, I built up these weird hurdles that I feel like I am incapable of solving, that like I like will put the paint on wrong, or like I'll do 90% of it right, but then like I won't apply like a proper sealant on the end to make it keep looking nice, and I'm like, well, I can't figure that out, so I won't do it. And it's like, just no, you can look up what sealant to buy and just put it on at the end, and like no one's like, there's no reason you can't do that. It's like that. It feels like one of those things that's like, yeah, it's a finishing touch where like, you know what, even it's painted, you can just go set it in the house now and it'll be pretty much good for the entire time you have it. Whereas like there is like one extra step that isn't like fun or glamorous that will actually make it look better the entire time and keep it safe, that I feels like my past self is very prone to just like skipping that step all of the time.
Sure.
It's like, I do not want to skip that step, but I feel like I can already feel past me, like reaching into the future, being like, don't worry about that. That's just extra work. You can just go inside and play video games right now. That's going to be like a whole nother hour of time out of your day that you have to do something that isn't really going to matter, right? I don't know if you ever have that voice in your brain.
It's not no, like I know that like early on in the pop, one of the things that I was doing was I think it was right as like sort of COVID was underway. So probably another moment in time where I was like, all right, well, we can't go to the gym, so may as well do a home gym. But like my basement has like really low ceilings, so it's like, well, I can't really do one in the basement. And like my attic, the problem, which I've tried up there as well, my attic has really high ceilings, but then it's kind of like, well, do you want to be like setting down like heavy weights in your attic? It's like,
right.
It feels like that's the type of thing like where like if like deadlifting, for example, if I'm setting down like a 300-pound barbell over and over again, that's like the equivalent of taking like a 300-pound sledgehammer and just striking my house with it, like right at its core. And so it's like, it probably wouldn't be a problem if I did it once or 10 times, but like 300 times, it's like at some point in time, it's like,
are you gonna like drop the weight through the ceiling? Yeah,
exactly, yeah, or like cause like fractures or cracks, or like shifting something about the house at some point in time. So I know that I think that there's like some people who've talked about this, like by putting like your washer and dryer in the third floor of your house or something like that, or like the top floor, because like the dryer's like centrifugal rocky motion or something can like literally, I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. But so my end all be all conclusion was like, okay, there's this space in my backyard that is basically like dead grass. That's like the place where like I leave like my yard clippings. Like it's not really anything, like nothing grows there. Like, it gets too much shade every day. So I went back and I was doing like the concrete pad, or I had aspirations of pouring a concrete pad, which is like something I've never done before. I have no experience with whatsoever. It was like all just like raw learning from the very beginning. And I feel like, the orchestration of executing it took so much like thought, because like concrete itself is very heavy, and you were going to need like 90 bags of like 80-pound concrete,
right?
Which like my truck is big but not capable of like transporting 90 pounds of payload, or 90 bags of concrete all at once. Like it would like literally like cause the springs in my truck to like burst, or like my bumper to drag on the ground. So it's like getting all the materials there, and then the materials are like sitting outside of my house, and then there's rain in the forecast, and then I need to go and rent like a concrete mixer. It's like they're all things. It's like, okay, I need to go on this, because if I don't, then it will rain, and if all those bags of concrete get wet, they will turn into rocks, like, where they sit.
Then I'll really have a problem. Yeah,
and then I'll really have a problem. In fact, I think during the pandemic, there was like a whole phase of things where people were literally buying bags of concrete, setting them up as little like retaining walls or like shelves or steps or something, just spraying them down with water, letting the concrete form inside of the bag, and then just cutting away the paper, and then you would have these like stone walls.
Weird.
That were like the pieces of the puzzle were quite literally just like bags of dry concrete.
God, it feels like it'd be impossible to get all the paper away.
It does feel like that would be
like there'd be like
impossible.
little rips of it or something.
Yes,
just
yeah,
paint
yeah.
over it.
Just paint over it.
Paint
It'll
over
be fine.
it, man.
It'll be fine.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Plaster the holes or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure one person did it somewhere extremely well and had a really nice photo of it that then inspired literally every other person who probably then had like
really
less,
lumpy
versions.
like
less good results. All this to say though, it was kind of like one of those things where it was kind of like you needed to pull the trigger on something because the obstacle to get this thing started was rather considerable in that like you needed to like amass all the materials, you needed to like recruit the friend who was going to come like help you do it. And then like once you start like pouring bags of concrete, it's like now you can't stop.
Exactly.
You know, because if we did like 8 bags and we're like, nah, this is a bad idea, then it's like now you've got 8 bags of wet concrete on the ground. It's like, well,
right. Better go grab a shovel.
Right. Yeah. Like get rid of them real fast. So we get through the whole thing. Sure enough, the forecast like ends up being accurate and like it starts pouring rain, which is like the worst for concrete because then like little water droplets are like falling on the surface
on the concrete.
of it.
Yeah, like making little patterns that are gonna be there forever.
Exactly. And so, you know, like as all this is going down, I'm like definitely feeling like out of my league, and I'm like I don't really know what I'm doing, and like I'm trying to like, you know, figure out like the best way to do it. So like I don't have this, you know, what is 90 times 80? Like 9 times 8 would be
72.
72, yeah. So like 7,200 pounds of concrete that are now set into my backyard. So it's like once all of that is happening, you're like, okay, now I just got to be okay with it. But then throughout the course of the night, we put like a tailgating tent over the entire pad so that like, you know, less rain would get on it, but it didn't stop all of it. And then like a cat walked across it in the middle of the night. So
like what do you do about that?
There's like paw prints now permanently like embedded into my pad. And so all of this to say that in the end, it's not like there weren't imperfections, but somehow it also is like everybody who comes over is like, man, who did your pad for you? Or like, was this expensive or was it hard to do? Like nobody is ever like, why is there like a weird smear mark over here? Like, what's up with the cat footprints? Or, you know, it's like nobody ever seems to like have any like actual issue with it. So all of them, it's a really long-winded way of saying like the end result might not be perfect and you might see the imperfections, but like I feel like it's so frequently the case that nobody else sees those.
That is, this is like the that you will always see the problem, what you perceive to be like a glaring problem,
right?
Whereas like I think even like last week we had a video go up where like there was some rendering problem on some transitions that Riley had put into like one of our main videos for like the J versus Ben or something, and like no one noticed it until it had been up for like a day or something, but like the screen just like cut to black once or twice.
Okay.
And it's like, you know, from our point of view, we would look at it and be like, oh my gosh, it's like, what an embarrassing mistake.
Right.
Like
right.
everyone's unsubscribing. Whereas like if you're the end viewer, you probably just watch it and like maybe some people are like, oop, that was a mistake. But like most people are like, oh, they just did that. They did that on purpose.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. And you're exactly correct. Like, I mean, like, and like little tiny things are going to like sneak through here, there, and everywhere. And it'd be so interesting to see, like, if you've watched like finished pieces of content and like you could almost do it like with the creator who was then like, oh, I see, like this wasn't supposed to go like that. Like, you know,
right.
Like, you know, whatever. Like that person knows, but like how often does anybody else realize it? And hopefully people at home aren't like, yeah, we saw it, glaring mistake, guys.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I do think for the most part that like when you're aware of like what went wrong, it probably bothers you a lot more than it would in general bother anybody else.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
Because you know you're like so hands on. You were so close to the project.
Right.
You see it.
Right. Well, speaking of home projects and concrete pads, I feel like Beth and I were discussing our own concrete pad this very past weekend.
No kidding.
I know. So I might need your expertise at some point / just manpower. Because one of the other things I would like want to try and work on getting put in at my house at some point, I don't even know, is a hot tub.
Oh,
I know.
Look at you go.
I know. It'd be super fun. This is it's like feel like I have this weird relationship with like hot tubs in my brain where I'm like, for a long time I felt like it's embarrassing to want a hot tub or something. Like I don't know why I have like why that was the messaging, but I felt like that like settled in my brain at some point growing up. I couldn't even tell you when, but you shouldn't want that. That's an object that won't get used. That'll be really expensive. That like won't like yield you the joy you think it's going to yield you or something.
Interesting.
Or I don't know, but like I think the more I've reflected upon it, I'm like, I don't care. I want one. Like this is like I enjoy it, and this is, you know, there's no one says I can't have one. You know, if I go to the effort of, you know, saving money for it and buying it and putting the concrete pad in, like I can, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to enjoy this if I, an adult, want one just because some older version of me thought it was slightly embarrassing to want it. You know,
I know it is very interesting that I think at times to get into your psychology to like learn what has been like your barrier, to doing some of these things. But I gotta say, if you want to like stop recording right now and go like load up some lumber, like I mean, we can probably have that thing poured by 3 p this afternoon, man. I mean, I feel good about this. Like, I am excited about the prospect of someone I know owning a hot tub.
Exactly, right? Because then other people can use It's a reason to come over. I feel like I have heard other like people talk about how it's a really good thing you can do with your family because it's a activity that everyone enjoys, but also is not great for screens. So it's a great way for like people, for like your family to be together without screens.
Oh yeah, that's super clever.
Water.
Because water.
Because of the water.
Yeah. Alternatively, if you wanted to introduce a screen to it, you could also probably set up like an outdoor projector and have like outdoor movie nights from the hot tub, which I think just sounds like a lot of fun. It's immediately contrary to your exact plan. But.
No, and I think even I Googled it this morning to see like, you know, where do you even go to like buy one or look for one, and like you know, it immediately pops you up with some website that's trying to aggregate all the information for you, and it's like, what kind of add-ons are you looking for? Like LED screens? And I was like, no, I just want jets and water, you know.
Just can it be made from like a single oak log?
Yeah. That'd be epic. How big would the tree have to be?
Goodness gracious. It probably would be a hate crime to cut it down.
Yeah, it probably would.
Hey, nice.
Hey,
well done.
Nailed it.
No, but that honestly, I think that this seems like a really great plan, and it sounds like a fun quest for us. I know, right? Upon.
So yeah, I gotta. This is and it's like you're right. Immediately, you got to figure out like, okay, but like before you can even get it, you would need a place to put it, and you would before you can, you know, make the concrete pad upon which it's going to sit, you almost also need to know how big the tub will be. So you almost have to like pick out the one you want, put it on hold, and then in the meantime do all this other thing with the appropriate measurements.
Right.
And then I don't even know, like I don't know how hot tubs function or anything like that. Does this involve like plumbing? Do you have to like have something plumbed in? Do you need like an alternate power source? Do you just like plug it into an outlet? That all sounds, I don't know.
No, it would be hardwired for sure into your home, but we can certainly figure a lot of that stuff out. Yeah, because as you will recall, back when we were roommates together, I did go and buy a $300
Ben, I absolutely remember the time that we briefly owned a hot tub that, like, through complete happenstance, managed to heat itself up for all of the wrong reasons.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was. It always reminds me, and this is probably like one of those things that'll age us real quick. But if you ever watched the Rugrats growing up, the dad's name was Stu Pickles.
Stu Pickles.
And was he an inventor? Was that
he invented toys? Yeah,
he invented toys. Okay, but it seemed like Stu was like kind of like your classic, very whimsical, excitable. Like into stuff, but like he also was using like paper clips and chewing gum and like duct tape to like make stuff work. And in the end, our hot tub ended up being heated because I discovered that there was a flapper switch, which is a kind of electronic element that was supposed to engage or not engage but with electrical power. However, ours did not work and a replacement was non-existent. And so I literally just zip tied it down. So like instead of it engaging every time the thermostat told it to engage, it was just always engaged, which basically meant that like if you got inside of the hot tub, it would just like boil you into soup.
Yeah, you had to like, but also it took forever for it to heat up.
Well, that was because originally when we set it up, I couldn't figure out how to get the heating element to engage. So this was the first problem.
Okay.
And then just the sheer friction of the motor running continuously for days on end.
Right.
Eventually is what actually heated the water up to the point where it was hot tub water.
Right. So just because, So basically the motor was overheating and that excess heat was heating the hot tub, which happened to be the result you were going for.
Yes, but not the intended way in which this is supposed to happen. It would basically be like running the pump into the ground in the process of it generating so much excess friction. Yeah, that it would get
it's a miracle we didn't like fry ourselves in that thing.
It is a miracle.
Yeah.
It is a miracle. Although I would also say it was a miracle that we ever got to the point where we ever successfully used it even at all.
Yeah, so there was that.
There was that.
And we did successfully use it a few times.
Yeah.
And we even had a great amount of fun using it. So
I know.
Exactly.
Proud of us.
Proud of us is what it comes down to. And hopefully, if and when I get my own hot tub at some point in the future, it will run appropriately and the way it's supposed to, and not because of a bunch of weird other problems.
I suspect we will have not purchased it off Craigslist.
I suspect that as well.
Yeah, like in fact, underlying requirement for this plan.
Right? We're just going to buy it new. That's what I'm thinking.
No,
or else from a very reputable friend who bought it and decided they didn't want it and now just wants it off their deck.
Right, yeah. What I think is kind of interesting about this, though, is sort of something you touched on there, because I feel like this has been, even going back to the tools example, like I think one of the things that stood out to me about owning tools was then the ability to then like provide them on loan or for people to borrow who just knew me. So like it would be like a reason for people to want to be my friend was be like, oh, Ben has a lot of tools. So like, they're like, he's a helpful friend to have because he has like the answer to a bunch of the problems.
Interesting.
So I feel like for a long time that was sort of like, like that was part of like what I wanted. And I was doing a lake weekend for Memorial Day, and we were out there and doing like boat stuff and all that. And one of the big things that like sort of like was kind of circulating through my mind was like the real underlying reason why I feel like I had always wanted a boat before was not. It's for the exact same reason. It's like in the exact, partially it sounds like what you're going for with the hot tub as well. It's like, it's a great reason for people to come over. It's like an activity when they come over that you can then do. And it's like widely accepted by lots of people as like a fun way to like spend time.
Right.
And I think for me, that was always like the idea with the boat. It was like, if I can have like, and this is, it's funny because it's not intended to be this way, but it's like, I think it for me reflects like my own self-esteem back at me a little bit, where it's almost like, well, people don't want to just be my friend. I need to have useful things that they will want to engage with in order for them to want to be my friend, because like my personality alone, that's probably not going to do it. Like we need something else in the equation. But that was the real thing. I was like wakeboard boats in particular are just very, very expensive vessels to own.
Yeah.
And so it's like, for the most part, it's been like wildly out of reach always. And the thing is that like, I really, really, really like covet one. Like I would love to have one, but it's not at all because I have any intention of ever becoming a really good wakeboarder.
Right.
It's like what I really want is like the day that I remember doing like water skiing for the first time. I remember it was like this huge boost in like my own morale. Like it was like slides, like we talked about with Luke. It was like, it was an opportunity to be brave. And I feel like I loved that day in my life so much that the thing that I've always wanted to provide to the people in my life is that same moment.
Right.
It's almost like there's nothing that I can like go back to. I mean, not nothing, but like there's very few instances in like my life and childhood where like I knew that like so much about my life changed in one day, in one move, with one thing.
Right.
And it was like, oh my gosh, like I was really scared of this. I was so scared, in fact, that I was certain that if I did it, like harm would befall me. And instead I discovered like, oh wow, I can do it. And I got up and it was really fun. And I was really proud of that. And so it's like, what I really want is the thing that would then provide the gateway to then have other people in my life come and have that same experience. And it's interesting because it's like, I have to back up like 50 steps going back to like being like 8 years old to find the source material for why now as a 33-year-old, I want this thing so badly.
Right.
And it's literally just because it's like, I can't think of anything that I could give people that would be more meaningful than that experience that I had when I was 8.
Right.
And so it's like, it's, I don't know. It's, the way that you were talking about the hot tub, I feel like was like, I felt this is how I am with the boat. Like this is like the thing I want to be able to do.
Yeah. Well, rest assured, the reason I want one is not just so that I can have people come over. It's because I personally love sitting in hot tubs.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it also makes me super happy to imagine just like calling you up and being like, "Hey, what are you up to back?"
Okay, I'm in the hot tub, man. I'm in the tub. That's it.
It's bubbling.
There we're going, man. We're just relaxing out here.
I know. You're gonna create like a little oasis in your backyard.
That's exactly what I'm going for.
Like,
I got my garden over there. I have my hot tub over here. Got hopefully my slide at some point.
I know. Yeah, work on that slide.
Yeah, work on that slide. Yeah. We're working on it. We're getting there. Yeah. Then at some point, the other thing I'm working on, I don't know. This is my list of house projects. Is we're trying. Eventually, we're going to reorganize the garage, which is going to be great. Oh. But that's a whole different project. It feels like
this is like one of those things where it's like reorganizing the garage feels like the least permanent thing that you can ever do. Like I feel like the number of times that like dad has like sent the family chat like a photo of the neatly organized garage because like he was finally able to get rid of the ramp that I built in college for like, my snowboard machine or my snow machine.
Yeah.
I built a machine that makes snowboards. It's awesome.
Yeah. If only.
Yeah. Or like there have been so many times where like it's just been like stuffed full of like old aquariums, or like one of us was like home from college and had like our couches in there or something like that. Like I feel like the number of times Dad has like gotten back to garage zero.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm able to park a car in there again. And then it's like,
and then it changes again.
And then it changes again. So I say that because I feel like my basement is the exact same way. It's like the number of times I've gone through and like I've removed everything and I've done Goodwill runs and I've like mounted stuff to the walls and I've installed new shelves, and then it's like give it another year and it's like, oh man, I put a whole bunch of other stuff down there. I've got this one corner from our Duck in a Cup weekend that is just full of a giant duck costume and like a Tupperware container full of rubber ducks and like a swimming pool in the shape of a rubber duck and just huge duck inflatable. I don't know. There's so much duck related things down there. So
as one should have.
If anybody needs some duck related things, just let me know.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds pretty solid. That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know. That one is definitely high up on Beth's list of just redoing the garage, because we just inherited like the garage space we had. Actually, this is sort of a funny story. Like the entire time we have lived at my current house, we've not really had a car that could comfortably fit inside the garage.
Okay.
And so Luke one day came home from preschool and was telling us how like one of his friends, like their parents park the car in the garage, and Luke was like, you don't put cars in garages. And it was just so funny that his perception was that because like the intended use for a garage is to park your car.
Right.
But like, we just don't, because this is like another weird thing that like 2-car garages are the wrong size. Like the standard size for like a 2-car garage comes from like a long time ago when cars were smaller.
Okay.
And so like a modern amenity, like when you're building a house, like you almost have to list like 2-car garage, but no one can fit 2 cars in their garage, or like modern size cars, because cars are just bigger now because they have different amenities. So like, anyway, like certainly, the way it is in ours, we wouldn't have to take a lot of stuff out, and maybe Beth could fit the minivan in there, or maybe one of us could put it in there.
Okay.
But then it would just still be the other car would just be out there behind it,
just in the elements,
just out in the elements.
Poor thing.
I know, poor thing.
It's like we were talking about like indoor cats versus like outdoor cats or something. It's like it's an outdoor car.
It's an outdoor car.
It's an outdoor car. It lives outside.
Lives outside. Yeah. So anyway, that was funny to me that Luke didn't consider that garages were for cars. And like the more I think about it, though, it's like our garage really probably will never be for a car.
It is really
it's
funny.
Like just like this sort of semi-outdoor storage space.
But this is also kind of hilarious as well, because I feel like this is when you're a kid and your entire reality is like the way that your parents have like decided to do things.
Yeah.
But then you realize like just how different literally every single person is, and like their little like isms and how they go about like doing things.
Yeah.
But I do think that like when you're a kid and you go over to your friends' houses and like their parents do things slightly differently, and you're kind of like, why would you do it like that? There's clearly a better way to do it.
Yeah. And it's my way.
And it's my way. Park your cars outside.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to open the door.
Exactly.
Saving you time, friend.
Yeah. Yeah. At my old house, I had the Nissan Juke, and that was like a tiny little car. And even though I had a very tiny little garage, I could fit it in there, and I would park it in there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I always liked doing that. I was like, oh, then I can come in through the basement. And then it got to the point where after we had Luke, it was like, now the car seat's in the back. And if I ever have to put Luke in the car now, it's a real hassle because the second door open and stuff like that. Yeah. A lot of geometry to consider and stuff.
I mean, it becomes very complicated very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's very cool. So aspirations is to hot tub and a garage you can park in.
Yeah. So we want hot tub. No, not garage you can park in. Just organized garage.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take
that is nice. Yeah. Nice. So we want Hot tub, Garage Mahal. That's what we're going for.
Garage Mahal.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's the name of our project.
I like it. We have a neighbor on our street who we live in like a neighborhood like in Roanoke that is sort of like welcoming to like young families, young professionals, stuff like that. Like they're homes that are sort of like they are good starter homes. But my down the street neighbors from us are like empty nesters. They're both doctors. And so they live like a very humble like reality and everything. But one of the things that they recently did during COVID was go through and build like just the absolutely most massive addition Garage Mahal to their home.
Nice.
Like where it's just like this, like they took like what was a huge backyard and filled it with like extra house, and it's amazing. But like all of us neighbors were looking at it, we're like, this is so disproportionate value-wise to literally everything else in this entire neighborhood right now, because it's such a massive, like it's like got like cast iron, like twisted not chain link, like fencing that's
right.
just like, it's like from like a garden from like a, like a palace or something like that. It's just, it's really beautiful. But, yeah, anyway, so when you said that, I was like, maybe they'll do that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about more like mounting shelves to the walls and getting rid of the existing stuff that's in there.
Hey, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah,
that's
pretty good.
Cool too. We have a pegboard where you can put your hammer.
Oh man, yeah, I got a box for that. I've got a toolbox.
Yeah, a toolbox.
Yeah, there are these cool like there are like I don't know, garage renovation like things that are like I don't know. I can't remember the name of the brand, but it's like more like kind of like sliders or something you would adhere to the wall, and then like all of the accessories just sort of like click into the holders.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And there's like, I think basically that's what we want. Like that.
We are becoming a middle-aged podcast very, very quickly.
Well, Ben, we're at episode 183, so maybe our podcast is middle-aged. Who's to say?
Which means that we will officially conclude. We're going to announce it today that at 366 episodes, that will be the end.
That'll be that's it. Goodbye. See ya.
Someone's going to have to remind us when we get to our well, it would be funny because 365 episodes will be like a 1 year.
Man.
Like 365 days in a year.
Yeah.
So hopefully it doesn't land on leap year. Man. In which case 366 would be our grand conclusion.
Man, wouldn't that be weird? That'd be so weird if we made just enough episodes that you could listen to one episode a day for a year.
Yeah, that'd be wild.
Yeah.
That'd be so wild.
Man, you could go through the whole popcorn journey in 1 year.
In 1 year. Just enjoy that ride.
Although hopefully we have way more than 360 episodes at some point, and we're just continuing to thrive into the future.
Huzzah!
Woohoo!
Yeah, no, that would certainly be the goal. Although, if we wanted to bring it absolute full circle, we could talk about Ted Lasso and the fact that they ended the story when it was supposed to end. And so maybe at some point in time, we just need to figure out when the story's supposed to end.
Do we have like an overarching narrative for popcorn culture?
We've grown. I think we've grown.
Yeah.
We've since the start of the pop, I've gotten married. We went through a pandemic.
Yeah.
You had twins. I had Addie. Mm-hmm. So I think then there was also that instance where you installed a fence around your garden. So
we installed the fence around the garden. Hopefully by the end, there will be the hot tub. We will know whether or not Bazooka Jack is victorious.
Right.
Lots of recurring narratives here.
Okay. These are the real questions. Is by episode 366, will it be the case that you have a hot tub in your backyard if you're still living in the same house?
Yeah.
And will you have a tube slide coming off of your deck?
Man, these are goals that feel achievable.
I know.
In the short term.
And maybe I'll be able to play Good Riddance by Green Day on guitar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
These are we're really shooting for the stars over here,
Right.
people. Anyway, guys,
that's
as
what we
ever,
have to live for now.
Right. Yes. On the note of ending, this seems like a good pot. It's a good spot to close out today's episode of the Pop. Guys, again, if you're interested in joining in on Miles managed the step competition, it is not too late. We have a link in the show notes or the description down below, depending on wherever you're watching this. It is absolutely free to join, so there's no cost involved. And as long as you sign up by July 11th, and at that point in time, you would need to go full hog and go for like 6 miles a day in order to complete the journey. But it's a great community of people over there. Everybody's been super active and posting, and it's just been really, really fun. I've absolutely enjoyed every second of it. So if you're not a part of it, if you want to be a part of it, if you're on the fence, let this be your push to come and join the fun, because I do think you'll have a great time with it. But otherwise, guys, until next time,
Pop.